by these particular Greeks and things of that nature. Here it is. It says, okay, let's go to it here. The question that she asked him here on page 131 of My Brother the Extraterrestrial, this is in number 7, questions 1 through 34. Question number 9 says, so many of our Salal are lost or following alien religions, such as those of Bible and Quran. They are mentally asleep, right? He said, yes, blind, deaf, and dumb, living by fictions and legends taught by aliens from other races about their own dead ancestors or fables made up. Mental liberation informs one that before Nagaru, Negroids were called Negroes by Caucasoids as Greeks, Romans, and Arabs. You were known as Nubians, not Nubians, who are our children. Nagaru, Negroids, mixed with Arabs in Northeast Africa today who accepted the alien religions of Bible and Quran. Then going into the next question, question number 10, says, she asked, what is Nubian? And this just, it really just exploded in me because it was like, I never put this together until just then. Said, what is Nubian? Answer, it is Nabat, or gold. That's AU 79. Atomic weight, born with the Big Bang to the sun. As a person, it became Munbatu, or meaning gold ones. It became Nabat to Napatin. The letters B and P replace each other in dialect. In time, we became many names, such as Ethiopians, from the Greeks, yet they knew it was Ether Nubians and Ether Utopia. Like if you can recall from books like my brother was mentioning earlier about what the master was teaching since like 1967 or from 1962, where you're in what's called Get From Behind the Nine Ball. He was explaining Wu-nuwaupu then before we were even ready to ask questions on that level, which is why he said that now we're finally at the place in the hereafter to where now he can finally teach what he came to teach. Because back then he was referring to us as Ethiopians and he was referring to us as Ether Utopian. But then when he starts to explain further about how you see that non-ether being who we are, and he was explaining the sun heat genes that we have, it goes to show how our hair being kinky or kingly, being nappy the way that it is because the fact that we hold the sun heat genes, or we have that solar plex on the inside of us, and that's what makes it curl up the way that it does, right? But he said that through all of the different mixings with your Asiatic black man being the Dravidian that you were speaking about, and all these other different beings, the Caucasus who come from that, right? It weakens the genes. In weakening the genes, what it does is it actually cools off the heat from those sun heat genes, and what happens is the result is the hair as you see it becomes more and more flank, going more towards fur. So when you're seeing these Ethiopians nowadays and you're seeing them have flank hair like fur, that in and of itself goes to show you that yes indeed there's been a lot of mixing that's caused that, because that is a physical confirmation of the weakening of their genes. So just being able to look at those physical traits answers the question and lets you know that yes, indeed, that is the case. And when you're dealing with Ethiopians too, you can go and, don't believe me, go check this out. You have, like in India, right? In India, you have a caste system. A caste system being that they basically break things off into categories, just like here. And in India, you have a group of beings called the untouchables. They're extremely dark-skinned black people in India. They're called the untouchables. And in India, they don't really deal with them because of the fact that they are so black, but they're the original ones there. They're like your original Dravidians. They are black. You understand? But in the caste system, they're considered to be lower in stature than your lighter skinned ones that you're seeing now. So that's those beings that you see as being those Hindus or what have you, those end up being the same ones that you see there. To keep it simple, if that was simple enough.
Yeah, that was That was good. I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Could a person who has 7 ether hair be a 9 ether being? What?
In dimensional shift, it explains where you're dealing with the races being your 9 ether, your 8 ether, and 7 ether all being divine genes. As he explains here, or he mentions it here inside of My Brother the Extraterrestrial as well, where he says we're all one family, not the same race though. It's like you're dealing, when you start talking about ether, right? As the master explained, going all the way back to Get From Behind the Nine Ball, which is what he came to give, which we're getting now. When he was explaining ether, he was explaining basically that being like an energy capacity, right? 9 ether being the highest, right? So out of the perfect number 1,000, right? We have the potential to reach up to the level of 999 out of the perfect 1,000, right? If you're dealing with 8 ether, then that would be like basically you getting to 888 out of that perfect 1,000. You understand? So that range is still, as is mentioned in Dimensional Shift, a divine range. That 9, 8, and 7 is a divine range, while 6 in and of itself is the death of 9 ether. You follow? So if you're going down in ether level, you're not at death until you're at 6 ether. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Tell you. Any other questions while we It looked like she may be about to form another one. Good to go? The young brother? All right, go ahead, brother. Yeah, the young people bring the heat with their questions, and that's what's up. Still can't say that's my nephew, boy.
I have a question about vampires.
Okay.
If in the cartoons, the vampire skin, when they get inside of the sunlight, their whole body burns. But when you watch the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, and the vampires are in the sun, they don't burn. Why is that?
That's interesting. That's a good question. The question he asked was, as you've seen, or as we've been taught about vampires and things of that nature, in the past, every time a vampire came out into the sun, it would kill them immediately. But he said, well, what he's noticing as an observation is, like in the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, right? They can go out into the sun and things of that nature. I guess their sunscreen is up now, so that they don't get just totally burned up. I was thinking about that the other day myself, because I was watching a show called Being Human, and you got this vampire on there, and they're doing the same thing. As to exactly why, I don't know. I don't know exactly why. I can say that I've noticed the change, that they're basically trying to say we're going to change the rules on vampirism now.
Like in Twilight?
Yeah, like in Twilight. You know, you got new rules now. You know, we can stand out in the sun, you know, for a period, and it's just really bright for us, and we wear shades instead. That's what they're doing now. They're wearing shades, and they're not getting totally burned up. So I don't know. I mean, it could be many different things. That'll be a good question for me to ask the master, because they could be. Because he did say this. He said that one thing that they do is they teach by way of their movies and cinema. He said that's the only way that they can teach their people things, right? So they make these movies to teach them something. If you're familiar with like Gothic people, have you ever seen these Gothic people that go around and they cut their teeth so that they can look like vampires, and they make themselves look extra pale. They put like real pale makeup on. They're always wearing like trench coats and stuff, kind of like my trench coat, but they're white with it. So there's a difference. I saw one time in New Orleans, and he was standing on the corner, and he was like he looked like he was trying to levitate or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going down there with them, just because, you know. But they have like these parties and stuff where they look like this. They call themselves Gothic, but these are like your Wakanu, your Wiccans, and things of that nature. And they don't really start getting into what we understand when we talk about vampire. It's a different thing from Wu-nuwaupu. When we talk about who vampires actually are, You're talking about a group of beings that came from the planet that's called Vulcan or Maldek, right? You remember Nibiru? You remember Nibiru being the mothership, right? You familiar with that? Let's get you a little familiar. With Nibiru making its trip here, as we were taught 24 billion years ago, it ended up bumping into a planet called Maldek or Vulcan, right? If you watch Star Wars or what have you, Spock is from that planet, Vulcan, right? What did I say? Star Wars? I'm sorry to all the Trekkies. I just messed that up. Yeah. You know they want to burn me on the Star Trek, stake. But no, that's a violation. I'm sorry. But anyway, with Spock being a Vulcan, right? The master teacher had explained to us that 24 billion years ago, when they bumped into their planet, which is now also being called the lost planet, because it used to be inside our solar system, but parts of it got destroyed, and then the rest of it got pushed off into another galaxy called Zeta Reticuli. But those particular beings ended up chasing Nibiru, and then they ended up getting thrown into this planet before it became the way that it is now. And so when you end up having the word vampire, is actually a shortened word for what's called Vulcan Empire. And these particular beings are a group of reptilians. But these were a negative group, or should I say disagreeable towards the Riskians that were on Nibiru, because they were like warmongers. So that's one thing about them. They have a real beef with our ancestors. So that's when we're talking about vampires, we start looking at things from a different perspective than the way that cartoons show it. Because the way that cartoons show it is also another way that they want us to always look at it. You understand? But there is a major difference. You follow?
Yeah, I have another question.
Go ahead.
My question about I want to ask you was,
Did I answer the first one pretty decent? Did you? Because I'm sorry, I messed up with the other little brother. I was talking a little bit too much for you. I'm sorry. All right. Well, it's in your subconscious. It'll come back. All right. Shoot your hand up when you're ready to ask it. All right. Any more questions? Go ahead, brother.
Where did the asteroid belt come from? Is that from the running into the planet? Or?
The asteroid belt, as we know it now, actually came from. Okay, how familiar with the story of Nibiru, or the account? I don't like to say story so much. The account of Nibiru's interaction with this planet and this solar system. How familiar with it are you?
I mean, it's kind of new to me. I've been looking into it, but now through the books that are here, I looked at it on the internet, and they were saying that the Earth was actually one hit, and this is actually a partial Earth, and it was formed. Water took the spots of where it was destroyed. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay. That's what they said.
One thing I'll say, here's his question for everybody who couldn't hear because the mic wasn't wanting to act right. He said basically he's wanting to know about where the asteroid belt came from, as far as our ancestors' account of that particular situation. He said that he's done some outside research and found out that this planet, the planet Earth, was different than it is right now, and some of the things that they're talking about concerning that. But here we are. We're going to speak about it from Wu-nuwaupu. All right. The planet that we were talking about just now, they sent out four ships, all right, called the Ninga Fleet, all right? These ships got caught up in Nibiru's magnetic fields. Nibiru is set up in a way to where it can travel interdimensionally. It can travel at the speed of light. And it has different atmospheres inside of it. And then it has 4 different magnetic fields in and of itself. These 4 ships came out, and And these were warriors that were coming at them. So they came out to try to make war with Nibiru. Immediately they got caught up in the magnetic fields. These particular ships being caught up by Nibiru ended up being called winds, right? That first wind, which they call the north wind, it hit the planet, which we called Wu-Nuwaupu at the time, right? And that's the Sumerian, that's the way that we were taught when we were still dealing from a Sumerian point of view. So it's called Wu-Nuwaupu. It was like 3 times bigger than it is here now. So what ended up happening is that north wind hit it and it split it in half, right? Now, it came back around and it hit that half again. And from that half being hit that second time, a lot of that ended up going out into what you're considering to be your asteroid belt here now. Now you ended up having the east wind come through and it hit and went through, made a hole or what have you. The west wind bore a hole on the inside of the planet, and it ended up making the sun, the central sun here, that's the 600-mile circumference inside of the center of this planet now, right? And then that south wind came, hit, knocked off a lot of what you're looking at as being the Grand Canyon now. And from a lot of that is where you end up seeing your moon now. So the moon that you're seeing here now was a part of this planet. And as it went out, it got caught in the electromagnetic field of this particular planet. And that's why it's there now as a satellite. But that asteroid belt, to answer the question simply, it came from that first ship that hit the planet, knocked it in half, came back around, and then split that half. And that exploded, making what you see your asteroid belt now. All right? You can refer to the holy tablets for that. You can go online if you like. There is the holy tablets is online, and it's inside of chapter 1, inside of the holy tablets. Okay? All right. Go ahead, brother. Say that one more time. How come vampires have a craving of blood? What's the thing called? Hemophiliac. That's right. All right. They need that in order to subsist. Like our master teachers always taught that there's spiritual energy inside of blood, right? And these beings, being that they are 6 ether beings, right, they have to try to strive off of the fluids and liquids of higher beings than themselves. So like your queen, well, not our queen, but like their queen, Elizabeth and things of that nature, she's a hemophiliac. And what that is that's a disorder within their blood. So they're always constantly having to get blood to try to stay normal, quote unquote. So that's one of the things that makes them have a craving for blood. Not so Hollywood as cartoons and whatnot make it out to be. But then that's also the reason why you see these beings. They're also coming from a set of what their overlords are, and they're bloodthirsty beings. They love to eat a lot of meat that's got a lot of blood in it. There's spiritual energy inside their blood, like I was saying earlier. That's why you see them like to eat raw meat and medium rare meat and things of that nature. It makes them feel, real energized because they're a beast man. It makes them more aggressive and things of that nature. Like you see anybody who's ever boxed or knows boxers, they would always like have them to eat like steaks and things of that nature before they go into to box, because it makes them more aggressive, more beastly. So that's got a lot to do with that, because of the spirit energy inside of it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
My last question was, if vampires are from a different planet, then how come it looks so much like us?
Good question.
What was the question?
The question is, if vampires are from a different planet, then how come they look so much like us? When you said like us, do you mean humanoid? Okay, one thing is the humanoid body type is not only found here on this planet. The humanoid body type is actually found on many other planets. For instance, as we've always been taught, our ancestors are from different star constellations, right? We talk about Risk, we talk about the Orion star constellations, we talk about the Sirius star constellation, correct? Those beings have humanoid features as well, meaning that they have arms, they have legs, they have a face and things of that nature, just like we do. They may be different heights or things of that nature. Their skin may be a little bit different, you follow? But they still have humanoid types. And that's why. Because once they came and interacted here, then they did a lot of what's called mixing genetically. So a lot of us are mixed in with them too, in order for them to be able to survive within this atmosphere. Make sense? Cool. Any other questions before I pass the mic over to my brother, Sekou Ray? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so go ahead with the next question. Anybody? How you doing? All right.
I got a question.
Go ahead. You want to wait on the microphone?
I just want to understand what's going on with Beyonce, with this, what's going on with the Illuminati, the way they do things. I mean, they're using somewhat what the Egyptian, different symbols and things like that. And I want to get an understanding, I'm pretty sure other people too, the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I mean by Beyonce, now, I didn't see it, but I did look on YouTube what happened with the, what was it, the halftime Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they said she did like a ritual thing, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And then the way she did it, I looked at it, somebody showed me one of the YouTubes, what she did as far as, the enlightenment and all these different things that was happening. Can you explain that? What is the difference so people can understand, especially, I want to know too,
Okay.
the Illuminati versus what is taught about the Egyptian concept and all that, because they use the symbols with the pyramids and different things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Great question. I'm glad you asked me that, actually. First things first, Illuminati. They say that this particular group of beings is so powerful that they control what you see in the media, right? If they don't want it to be out, then it won't be out, right? So I always ask the question, who do you think it is that's producing these videos, that's making these people have all of these levels of fear now about the Illuminati right now? Right? Like, Beyonce can have Bob always mentioned Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have any words on what she's doing or not doing insofar as that. Like, is she Illuminati? Is she not Illuminati? All this. One thing is, when you're dealing with those particular beings that have it out for total world domination, it's genetic. These particular beings ain't playing around. They're not playing around with just your regular everyday quote unquote Negroes to just be able to be down with them, off top. But Illuminati, back to that word. Illuminati being like illumination or light, right? As our master teachers always explain, you ask the question, is light, and in this sense, let's use a flame or torch. Is it good or is it bad? A flame.
Depends on what's using it for.
Right.
So it in and of itself is not good or evil, right? So if in this sense, when we're talking about illumination, that light being knowledge, right? As the master teachers always explain, it's always based on the intention behind the being using it, right? Okay, so you've got beings who can actually utilize bad light, right, for a harmful purpose. One of the examples that I always use is, have you ever been pulled over by a police officer before at night? You have? You ever had them shine that light, like right in your face? Why are they shining that light directly in your face?
I guess it seemed to intimidate you too, right?
It is intimidating, yes. But what they're doing with that light, and we got police officers, or ex-police officers in here, as it's been explained to me as to the, as it's been explained to me as to the reasoning behind it. Many times what will be happening is they'll have that light shine in your face, but you can't see what's going on behind that light. They may have their hand on their weapon, right?
Right.
You don't know what they're doing because you're being blinded by the light.
Right.
So they're using the light as a tool to blind you from what's actually going on. You understand? So here we are in a time where everybody's getting all this information about the Illuminati. Everybody's so scared of this information about the Illuminati, this, that, and the third. But as the master teacher explained, we are the Illuminati on this side of things, being that we're bringing knowledge to our people to be able to wake them up. So you're dealing with the two different poles at this point. You're dealing with beings who would use knowledge to blind people from who they actually truly are, like religion does, right? This would be considered to be, quote unquote, bad, because it gets you to thinking that this is one thing when it's not really what it actually is. So you'll have these people throw these videos up on YouTube and say, watch this is a ritual. This particular ritual right here, see, she's doing this, and that means she's a part of this, and she's giving this homage to this, that, and the third. But they don't mention that when you're doing a communion in church, right? That you're doing a ritual that's ritualistic of you actually eating someone's flesh and drinking their blood. They don't talk about that as being a ritual. See, we don't think about that on that side because it's religious now. See, so they push this one thing in your face and say, hey, this is a ritual. It's evil. It's the Baphomet. You see that dance move she did just then? She had 9 people on stage with her. I watched a little bit of that video, probably what you're talking about. She was dancing in this segment. She had 9 people. And see, 9 is a number that's real big with the Illuminati. Yeah, 9 is our number. Because we understand that 9 is divine, being that 9 is the only number that can multiply by anything and always come back to itself. It's the supreme number. And there is no number higher than that. It's a number of perfection, while they say 7 is a number of completion. So it's kind of funny because while they're trying to say it in a negative, 9 is my favorite number. Am I Illuminati? Am I out here to destroy the rest of the entire world?
See, that's what I want to know, the difference.
Right. The difference is this. Here's the difference. If it's coming from them, it's not for you. Unless it's for your distraction. Just like most times what's happening here. They'll tell you one thing on the news, and you're looking over here. You don't know the reason why they're doing it here. Like the master was explaining, why are they trying to destroy Iraq? Right? Why do they want to destroy like Syria? Why are they dropping all these bombs on these particular places? Because there's a historical significance, or our historical significance, where we've got records and things there. And they have to try to destroy the records there. But they'll make you think that it's all about a war and that these people actually hate each other. But these people are the same people. You know what I'm saying? These people right here are the people who they acknowledge the same source as being their overlords or what have you, right? But they'll make you think that they don't like each other here, when the reality is they're trying to destroy and cover evidence so that you won't be able to further be able to connect the dots as to who you are. And that's a lot of what's going on here. A lot of these cats are putting out like these exposed DVDs and things of that nature. And mind you, some of the stuff they're talking about as far as information, it could very well be correct. But what's so deep about it is our master teacher, Pt.2, Nubian, was talking about these different types of things before it became popular. You understand? He was explaining these different things and he was telling people this, that, and the third. They was calling him crazy. He was saying that the reality is that the beings that you're talking about that's really talking about stake for power on the planet are beings that aren't even from this planet originally. You know, you can refer to books like Leviathan 666 back on the table and things of that nature. I mean, he's written so many books pertaining to just that area alone, like Secret Societies Unmasked and things of that nature. He told us to go back and look at other books like the Body Snatchers, Alien Conspiracy, what have you. And inside of there, they explain like how they put themselves inside. Like you go to a book called Luciferian Conspiracy that the master wrote, and he explained how you have these beings who will put themselves inside of organizations, right? And then all of a sudden now, people put the organization with that particular entity. And they say, oh, that's an evil organization, because you've got these beings from a different place who will literally come in and invade, and then they'll do some of their bidding, if you would, up under the mask of that particular organization or what have you. But there's so much more. And what we're looking at when they're talking about the entertainment industry, number one, that entertainment industry doesn't support us. One, you have a lot of people who are running it, and I can say, yeah, those would be Illuminati people who are utilizing our own people's energy to teach our own people to do things that works against their own nature, rather than elevate their own mind to be able to become who and what they are. So it's still the person behind the mask that's really the powerful one, rather than the person that's on the stage.
They're like the puppets.
Exactly. So the game that they're playing is trying to get you to look at somebody that's playing a game on the stage, rather than you looking past that and saying what's really going on. So they have you being distracted.
Right.
And that's ultimately what that is.
I know what's going on, but I'm worried about these young people. These young people, they looking at it like it's just entertainment. It's more
Right.
behind the scenes. It's not just entertainment.
Right, exactly. And entertaining is like training. That's a
Yeah.
taming. All the way back to what the brother was talking about earlier about those tones, teaching people to do a certain thing. Remember when I was explaining, you might have came a little later than that, we was talking about language and how you had these beings who wanted to keep people up under their own rule and their influence. That's exactly what's happening here. The industries that we're talking about, your media, your popular music and things of that nature, this is teaching young people right now to think in terms of these trends that's killing them. Like they got the t-shirts, YOLO, you only live once. You got black people out here right now, you got young people that's wearing jeans and t-shirts that's got skull and crossbones on them, when just 10, 15 years ago, you would have never saw a black person have that on. You know what I'm saying?
Them tattooed up
Yeah,
like they are.
and I asked a white guy this one time before when I was sitting, I had a table set up, and I asked him because he was a biker or whatever. He had a little thing on his head with skulls and bones on it. And I asked him, I said, hey, you've never seen black people wear that before until now, have you? He said, nah. I said, because we would have never done that.
Exactly.
He said, you're right. And I said, well, thank you, you can go. And I had a young brother sitting here with me at the time, and I said, so you see, they looking at you like, nigga, what you doing?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not your thing.
Yeah, it's not your thing, but what it does is it does the same thing that having a Jesus on a cross on your neck represents. It represents death.
Exactly.
So their culture or their teaching is influencing our people to do things that works towards their death rather than their life. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to my brother, Sekwa Tumre, Talmud Kator.
Are you familiar with the Illuminati?
As far as what I did a little research.
You know, you familiar like with Adam Weishaupt and stuff like that?
Not as far as, well, I probably read about him or something.
Break it down.
Yeah, there was a man named Adam Weishaupt, and he conspired. He came up with the thought in 1774 and eventually carried it out in 1776. And then he had the financial backing of a family called the Rothschilds.
Okay, yeah.
And the Rothschild family, their father was a jeweler, and he started hoarding his jewels and hiding and keeping money, and he taught his sons, look, marry within your family, cousins, whatever, keep it within the family. And he put his family together, and he told them, you have to stick by this code. And they infiltrated different organizations, and they went to the head of companies and different things like that, to the point that they control the news. You know, when you're watching CNN and you see Reuters at the bottom of it, Reuters is owned by them. They own Reuters, and they own what's the World Press? What's the other one? Anybody familiar with the Associated Press? And they own Associated Press and Reuters, And that's how they control the news. That's how they were able to control what happened during the stock crash in 1929, because they manipulated it by putting false information on the news. Everybody pulls their money out, or everybody says, look, I'm selling, and they sell dirt cheap, right? And then the next day on the news, it didn't happen the way they said it was going to happen, and then they became rich and took the wealth, and it was a Great Depression. You follow what I'm saying? They control the news because you know how we are. We look at the news and say, you know, that was on the news the other day that such and such and such, and then everybody believes it. So by controlling the media or controlling things in the media or controlling the medium that you get information from, they're able to control people and therefore have people do this and have people do that. So when you get to the entertainment industry, you go research the Tavistock Institute. And they decided which things would be trends, which things would not be trends, what will be popular. You know what, pink is gonna be in this year. Or you know what, we're gonna go with black this year. Or you know, and really, people are moving according to what they think that is so cool. You know what I'm saying? Like with the colored hairstyles. All of a sudden, black people, we did all kind of things. We got blue hair. We got pink hair. We got punk rock hairstyles, you know, and it seems like it's just, oh, you know, it's just a hairstyle. You know, I know I ain't blonde. I know I ain't got blue eyes. I know, you know, but it's not that simple, because color is what? Color is vibration. And everything you see affects you. So from us being continuously bombarded with all of this media, the master had to do this. Because how do you compete with Facebook and the news and CNN and MTV and Instagram? You got to keep putting out books, because that's the only way that you're going to shut the devil down, is to move faster than the devil. And the devil can never keep up with Panababianun, and never will be able to, because they move at his beat. They wait for him to say it and then they do it. You know what I'm saying? So the Illuminati, are they out there? Yes. Are they controlling entertainment? Yes. But we don't got to listen to it. And we have to show our children. Well, let me take that back. You do, in a way, got to listen to it, especially if you have children. But I don't mean we don't have to be sucked into it. Because if you don't listen to it, you won't know what your children are into. You follow? Because, you know, you got a child and they listen to hippity hoppity music, Mom, you don't understand. Dad, you don't understand what I'm talking about. I like this music, blah, 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 blah. You follow what I'm saying? But if you don't listen to it, you won't understand what they talking about. You won't understand why they moving the way they move. You won't understand why they can't pull their dang on pants up. We have to start getting into what they listen to, then, because the music is the soul of the person. Panababianun taught us that years ago. He said, you want to know what's going on with the women, listen to the latest R&B song. And he said, okay, that's what's going on. You know what I mean? Love should have brought you home last night. And that's what's going on, nigga. You should have came home. You know what I'm saying? You got to listen to the latest songs that's out, you know. And then you start to realize what's going on with the emotions of the people. Because what do people listen? What do we listen to? Listen to music. What do you listen to in the car? You listen to music. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to the average person car. They ain't got nothing on there. You bobbing their head to whatever's on. Whatever's the latest music. Why you like that? Man, you know, it's my favorite song. Why is it your favorite song? They never stop to think that somebody made that their favorite song, because they played it 70 million times in the span of a month. And it's a hit. Who decided it was a hit? And what do they mean by hit? Hit you over the head? You know what I'm saying? And then you go to a club, you over the head? You know what I'm saying? And look at and then what we was doing in the 80s? Break dancing? Something recreational?
About the 80s.
Oh man, listen. I'm a 70s baby. Anybody else have another question?
Yeah, just on the related topic, can you touch upon like a Freemason, the Shriners, and you know, supposedly, you know, saying everybody, and then, you know, good men and all that. Why is it so exclusive? Hence, you know, if you offering positive things, why is it like...
Well, Freemasonry is really a small thing. It ain't really nothing that big. You know what I'm saying? It's people. You have to keep something that's secret. You follow what I'm saying? It's like, you look at it like this. If I know something, that can help you, make you a better person, right? But in someone else's hands can make them an evil person, have more power, right? Why wouldn't I keep it sacred for those people that prove themselves worthy of receiving it? Now, Freemasonry was originally taken from Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at the original Egyptian Masonic order, is much different than the such and such, I'm such and such, without, I don't want to point no fingers and, jab nobody in the eye. You follow what I'm saying? But it's not the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because some people are still following the Euro Masons. You know what I'm saying? We not princes, we kings. You know what I'm saying? In the best way that I could say it. You follow what I'm saying? Does that answer your question?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, so I mean, if it is something good that you believe it could, you know what I'm saying, help out the people, why is it so, you know what I'm saying, so, you don't know nothing about that, or, you know what I'm saying, if you approach somebody with it, it's not.
Well, it's nothing deep. If you want to learn about Freemasonry as far as just learning basic information, you can get online. You could go back to a book called Leviathan 666, and the master teacher explains thoroughly exactly what's going on, and it'll help you get a better comprehension of what's going on. You follow? It's not as deep as you think, because you could go in library and look up masonry and learn basic principles about masonry. Will you know what a mason knows? I don't know nothing, so I can't tell you. I belong to the know-nots. You follow? Okay. Go ahead. You got another one. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm ready for you now. Say it again. How is it powered? How is the sun powered?
Our Father says that you need the sunlight because it gives you energy. How does it give you energy?
It gives you energy because you come from it. The sun gives you energy because it nourishes you with its light and its warmth. It gives you energy because it grows the plants that you need to eat to nourish your body. It gives you energy because without those solar energy coming through the solar system or coming into this planet, you wouldn't be able to charge up your melanin or your melanocytes. You have little tiny things on your skin called melanocytes. Do you know what a solar panel is? Solar panels are these long sheets. They look like glass, and what they do is they soak up energy from the sun and turn it into usable energy. You follow? Now, your skin has tiny little molecules or whatever you want to call it, of little bits of what you call melanocytes, and your skin charges up the light of that sun, that energy, and you get energy from it. In fact, you have a sun inside you. If you don't believe me, go like this, and take the back of your hand and rub the back of your hand like this, and then go and breathe on the back of your hand like that. You feel that heat? That's coming from your inner sun. You have it's called your solar plexus for a reason, because it's a sun in there. And we are sons, as me and you, as males, we are sons of the sun. You follow? Are you getting what I'm saying? Does that help answer your question? If it doesn't, let me know. Okay, great.
How is the inner sun fueled?
The inner sun is fueled, it's ether.
How is it fueled?
It's self-fueled.
Self-fueled?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? It means it fuels itself.
I'm not satisfied with the answer.
You're not satisfied with the answer? How does it fuel itself? By what you partake in, by what you do. Because if you're a living, walking, breathing person, you know what I'm saying, and you breathe in oxygen, oxygen helps fuel your sun, right? You breathe by yourself, right? You follow what I'm saying? Let me make it simpler. Oxygen fuels fire, right? If I light a match, the fire burns as long as there's something else to burn along with that oxygen and it stays lit, right? But then you do have some people walking around here and their solar plexus ain't lit and they walking around dead. So to answer your question better, I would say Ponda Babylon Num fuels my son, because my pilot wasn't lit till I heard his voice. You follow what I'm saying? But what he explained to us was that it's your soul. You know what I'm saying? It's the innermost part of you. When children most Nubian children are born in the hospitals, within a couple of days, a lot of them have to go back to the hospital for high temperature, because when they first born, that pilot is lit and they get hot and they sweating. You know what I'm saying? Does that answer your question, sir? Back there? Does that help you at all? Okay.
Isn't it also true that it's liquid ether in the blood are solar plexus?
You said liquid ether?
Yes, considered as our blood.
I have to get back to you on that.
No.
Yeah, I have to get back to you on that.
What is it like a actual? Is there like a place?
It's the actual sun in your body.
So where is it at?
Right here.
In the middle.
If you ever drank liquor before and you drink liquor and you feel that burn, what happens when you pour alcohol on fire? It gets bigger. You feel it get bigger when you drink. Don't you get hot? You've been drinking too much. You gotta stop drinking.
Coming from a Christian background and learning about Dr. York, I don't understand how somebody so powerful and have all that knowledge get locked up and accused, like he get accused of whatever he got accused of, like how did that happen?
That's a good question. She asked how being that Ponda Babylon is the master of the heaven and earth can be placed in the confines of a prison, or his skin suit can be placed in the confines of a prison. And the answer is this: because he told us that he had to test us, and in order to know who we were and who was real and who wasn't, he let the beast take him and confine him in the prison. It's not that he's confined, you know what I'm saying, in the sense that he can't just get out. He's confined in the sense that we are keeping him there because we haven't gotten him out yet. Because we don't want to come together in love and unity, which we're starting to do. But when we come together in love and unity like he asked us, then he'll be free. And then when he's free, then we will be free. Because he's not the only one in that prison. We're in that prison. In fact, the entire Afaf Reye Kau Salau, or entire African race, is in prison as he is in that prison cell. See, because until you get mad enough to want to stand up and say, you know what, this is wrong, y'all can't keep him in there, we don't care about your law that you say you have, because you say you follow one law, but we know you follow Leviathan, or the law of sin. We know you don't really follow the law you say you follow, because you make us swear on the Bible when you get to court, but then you don't follow none of those laws, because if somebody kills, you turn around and you kill that person. But it says thou shalt not kill, so how are you a judge saying you can kill if you really follow God's law? Really, the person should be deemed as insane, because according to the precepts of Christianity, you're disobeying God by killing somebody. So if you believe in God, then you should be classified as insane to want to go against God, right? So the person should really be locked up for insanity. But it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they really don't follow those laws. Because they'll say, one nation under God in school will make you pledge allegiance with your hand over your heart, right? But then they took the 10 Commandments out of school and they banned prayer out of school. So they really was saying two things. One, the God that we're talking about is not your God. And two, we don't care about the Bible or any of the laws in it. And we're really not a Christian country. We're really a Wiccan country. And everything that we do is ran by witchcraft and ran by bloodthirsty beings that control human beings that look like they're in control when really they're not. Because the Illuminati is headed by the Merovingian. And the Merovingian is the original bloodline of what you call in the Illuminati, and they're headed by the Pleiadians. You know what I'm saying? Or what's over them is the so what's under them is the Bilderbergers, Builder, Mason, Burger, Jew, and then over them the Merovingian, the original bloodline of the Illuminati, like I was talking about, and over them is Draconians and Pleiadians, who want nothing more than to feast on human skin and flesh and organs. But getting back to what you're saying, coming from a Christian background, looking at Panababia Nun being locked up, you know what I'm saying? If you look at it from the Christian perspective, Jesus was locked up. If Jesus was the Son of God, why was he able to be locked up?